This episode is brought to you by the Marine Corps Association and Foundation. Did you know you can support Marines and the Marine Corps Association Foundation through your donor advised fund? You can now initiate a grant recommendation from your donor advised fund, or DAF, by visiting our website www.mca-marines.org/foundation and click on the Give Now through your donor advised fund button. Search for your fund management company and follow the prompts to recommend a grant to Marine Corps Association and Foundation. Your gift will help the Marine Corps Association provide critical professional development programs that strengthen Marines and help them prepare to become tomorrow's leaders. Make a difference today. Direct your DAF gift to honor those who serve.
Hey, Scuttlebutt listeners. Thank you for tuning in to episode 183. I'm Jonathan Knauth, Chief Warrant Officer 5, United States Marine Corps, retired. And today we'll be discussing my recent Super Bowl experience, my journey into the Marine Corps, combat camera, leadership and losing Marines, transitioning to a post-military career, and a future pet project of mine titled My Life at 50. So sit back and enjoy episode 183's hodgepodge of conversation. We'll see you on the other side. Semper Fidelis.
Hey, Scuttlebutt listeners. Thank you for joining us and your continued support. I'm Vic. I'm here with Nancy.
Hey, Vic.
And we are here and really excited to be welcoming Chief Warrant Officer 5, retired Jonathan Knauth to the show. Got it right this time.
Yeah.
Yes. Hey, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Vic. And
Yeah.
Looking forward to a good show.
Yeah, this is really exciting. This is your first time in studio. Just a little bit of the sausage making. So Jonathan is the winner of USAA's Why We Salute Super Bowl ticket campaign. And basically what it is USAA reaches out to all the military affiliates and asks them for nominations to receive Super Bowl tickets. And Jonathan was the Marine Corps Association's nominee. He won it, got to go to the Super Bowl. And so in all of our machinations here at the MCA, we decided rather than just sending an email like, hey, sweet, super job on being the winner, we plotted this whole
That sounds
thing
like a great email.
where we were like, hey, you're coming on the podcast. We like to do all the, and just for people who've been listening, there's not a ton of prep. But we gave the illusion that we're like super professional and that all of this stuff is like very premeditated. And so we did this whole like pre-show thing because General Schroeder was in a meeting. And so we had to kind of stall it out. And so anyways, welcome back to the show. Yeah, I definitely want to dive into like all of your story and stuff. But while we're talking about the Super Bowl, we'll kind of sort of Tarantino this episode a little bit. So how was it? What was it like being in New Orleans, Super Bowl, one of the greats? I mean, I don't know if you're an Eagles fan or not. But.
I don't think you are. He's a Dolphins fan.
Dolphins
yeah, we
fan,
had a
yeah.
whole
But,
conversation.
yeah.
That was me. That whole conversation. That was
Yes.
me really trying to fill the time. I was
Just
stretching
space
out.
filler, just filling it in.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so let me say first, glad to be in the studio again officially for
Yeah.
a real business
For
this
reals.
time.
Yeah,
Unlike
yeah.
the last time when yourself and Vice President Mark Armistead bamboozled me on false pretenses to get me in here.
Right.
So it's good to be back. But yeah, it was an outstanding experience. First, can't thank the Marine Corps Association enough for nominating me, and also Sergeant Major Barrett for this award that we won. USAA and their military affinity team for doing this for all the veterans that got to go. There was 8 of us total with our guests that got to go down to New Orleans. And
Yeah, so you were the Marine Corps. You and Sergeant Major were the Marine Corps recipients, and then what was it? Navy, Air Force, Army, Coast Guard, or who?
I don't remember if we had a coastie down
Okay.
there. We definitely had the other 4 major
Yeah.
services. I don't think anybody was Space Force
No
yet
Space
either.
Force. Okay.
Unfortunately, it would have been pretty cool. But yeah, it was
Red carpet treatment, all that good stuff.
like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
From just first off, getting a chance to have an active player, a star player in the NFL, be our host and kind of our sponsor for the program.
And who was it?
For myself, it was Washington Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels.
Nice.
That's
So
cool.
rookie
That's so
sensation,
cool,
right?
yeah.
Like, rookie, offensive rookie of the
Yeah,
year, or rookie
yeah.
of the year, and
We got close to actually being part of the game.
he was
yeah.
pretty close. He and
Yeah.
the team came pretty close to it. But yeah, so it was great to get down there. USA goes all out in this program from their exclusive lounge that they have for military members, where the 8 of us that won through this program, the Why We Salute program, had all access passes, so we could go back in the the media green room and the media rooms with all the different players, and had pretty personal access to all the actual players that were down there for signing autographs and
Yeah.
just meet. So I mean, I got to speak with Josh Jacobs, Drake May, Gronkowski,
Nice.
Jefferson. So just having that kind of access, not having to wait in the queue outside with the general population for 2.5 hours to try to get
Wow.
an autograph, just
Yeah,
be able to
yeah.
walk up and have conversations with them one-on-one.
It's so cool.
Was
That's
amazing.
Yeah.
The whole USAA team, the C-suite folks that were there, Wayne Peacock, the CEO and president, was down there. Great folks. The 160/90 marketing team they had. Shout out to Courtney, Ulysses, Mitch, Jillian, and Katie, who did just a phenomenal job handling the media interviews that we were doing beforehand. Yeah, it was awesome. And of course, get down there game day. We had the official NFL tailgate. So the day before, the morning before, we got on the bus. We went to this big, private tailgate party. Really just amazing behind the scenes. They had a marching band. One of the bands that was on the field for the Super Bowl actually like marched us from the tailgate party to the stadium. It was over the top.
Yeah.
Just
it's so cool.
over the top. And of course, just having a chance to sit inside and watch the game. Who can afford to go to the Super Bowl? I guess for us,
Yeah.
regular folks. That kind of luxury to get to the Super Bowl and actually watch the game in New Orleans and eat great food. By the
Yeah.
way.
Oh, man, I
gosh.
can't imagine.
Yeah, the nakatish and the etouffee and so much.
Had you been to New Orleans before?
The only other time I'd ever been to New Orleans was in early 2006, following Hurricane Katrina. My combat camera community elected to move and host our annual conference down there to try to reinvigorate some money into the economy.
Oh, okay.
But as you can imagine, New Orleans wasn't quite New Orleans at the time.
Yeah,
right? Everything
right.
was still pretty wrecked. I mean, the Riverwalk area was barely open, so it wasn't nothing like what I got to see and experience this time down there. And of course, it was a party time. This time
That's
was Super
great.
Bowl also. So yeah, it was great.
New
It was a
Orleans
great
is
experience.
awesome.
It was good.
That's how shocked were you when we lured you down the hall to the general's office, and when you found out why you were really there? How shocked were you?
Yeah. So when the USA team, when the general kind of first turned it over to the USA team that was on the a teams meeting or whatever on side there, and they bamboozled me pretty good too, because they're like, hey, just letting you know, you're one of 2 finalists for these Super Bowl tickets. And we're going to ask you some questions, and if you get more questions right than the other person, we're going to send you to the Super Bowl. So I immediately, I immediately start sweating. Like, my heart starts racing. I'm sitting there, like, I am sweating. And I'm like, is this for real? Like, I'm like, you're going to ask me questions right now? Like, and this is determined whether I'm going to the Super Bowl.
Oh my
So, like,
gosh.
I mean, my heart was palpitating, and I was like, oh my God, like, this is happening.
Yeah.
And of course, they asked me the questions, and we get done, and Gino was like, hey, congratulations. You're going to go to the Super Bowl. We're happy to sponsor you. So, I mean, it was just amazing.
I heard you got all the questions right, though.
There was one.
Or most of
There was
them.
one multi-portion question. It was what 8 coaches had been fired, this previous season, and I missed one of those 8. But otherwise, yeah, I knocked out the park.
Man,
so,
that's so funny.
but I am a pretty big NFL fan. Overall, huge Dolphins fan. But I follow NFL pretty closely.
That must have been such a great
There
experience.
was just
for you.
okie-dokes left and right. I didn't realize they had also sprung one on you too.
Yeah, not only was I here under false pretenses, but then they're going to
You
put me to the
they
ring.
quizzed you.
Yeah, they're going to quiz me live, like right now.
Well, yeah, that's really great. And I'm congratulations again, and I'm so happy for you that you got to participate in that experience.
And thanks to USAA.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Well done, man. See,
Yeah.
this is a professional damn organization.
Yeah.
We are on it
Well,
because of Nancy.
we're gonna
Yeah,
shout out.
right.
We shout out the NFL too, right, for their salute to service.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
which is
sure.
Yeah.
sure. She's like Nancy's like, yeah, whatever.
So you had mentioned being part of the ComCam community. what was your journey like to the Marine Corps? You mentioned being a Dolphins fan, so you must be a Florida guy. Was the Marine Corps something that was always on your radar, or were you just like, I don't want to be a substitute history teacher, so I'm going to join the like? What was your path to the Yellow Footprints?
Boy, history teachers get slammed today. Yes, it was a pretty unique pathway in some regards. I mean, I was a pretty good student growing up for the most part. Then I got to high school and kind of got off track. So
As one is
It
wont to
happens.
do.
it happens, yeah. And so the grades weren't quite where they were supposed to be. I think when the time came for college, and I came from a lower income type family. I mean, started off in the single wide trailer type thing, and so mom and dad, the family wasn't going to be able to send me to college. And I'd had a good friend of mine going through high school, Kevin Seymour, who had actually dropped out and started going to get his GED, but he had joined the Marines. He signed up for the delayed entry program, and for a solid year, probably pretty close to a solid year, he's like, "Hey Clay," that's what everybody called me growing up. "Hey Clay, come join the Marines with me." And I'm like, "Man, get out of here! I'm going."
You want that referral credit, man?
Yeah, I was like, I'm not. He did actually, by the way, and I was like, no, I'm going to college, and as the senior year started winding down and the GPA wasn't quite there and those college scholarships weren't rolling in like I always envisioned,
Yeah, right.
like all of a sudden it's like, like this plan is probably not the plan that's going to work. And so finally I was like, all right, let me go talk to the recruiter. Went down there and saw Sergeant Romanius Barnes and walked in, and he's like, all right, took the ASVAB. He's like, set you up, get the ASVAB. Like I said, I was a pretty good student overall. Like I said, just didn't apply myself well. And so my ASVAB scores were pretty good. And he's like, all right, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, well, I've got this audio visual thing. And I'm like, audio visual? Like, what the hell is that?
You're like the guy who works the
Yeah,
VCR?
yeah, like what the hell's audio visuals? And he's like, well, you work with like cameras and things like that. And I was like, okay, like my grandmother had been avid photographer. My stepfather did little. I was like, yes, that sounds
Sounds
good.
okay.
Sounds like a
Yeah.
good job. Take
Yeah.
some pictures and stuff. Like, sure, sign me up. So I convinced mom to let me, enter the delayed entry program, which she wasn't really happy about. Signed away, and of course my buddy got his his referral contract. He got his instant PFC kind of thing. Yeah, he was all excited. And fast forward and off we go to Paris Island on the buddy program. Get down there, everything's great. I thought I was going to Lowry Air Force Base in Colorado for school. We finished MCT. I get my orders. They're like, you're going to Pensacola, and I'm like, Pensacola? I was like, I just came from Florida. I got to go back to Florida. Like, I've lived my whole
but
life.
Pensacola is great.
It
It's
is great.
different Florida.
It is a different Florida, but it was good.
I
And it
can't
was,
have people trash talking Pensacola.
no,
on
it was
this
great. White
podcast.
sand beaches, everything. Pensacola was wonderful. Don't
Okay,
get me wrong.
all
At
right,
the end of the
all
day,
right.
it was wonderful. But
Not exactly seeing the world.
yeah. And speaking of seeing the world, so then I graduate the schoolhouse, and my first duty station is right here at Marine Corps Base, Quantico,
Oh,
Virginia.
dang.
And
That's a tough first
it is a
duty.
tough first pull
Yeah.
as a duty station. And I watched pretty much everybody that I did that first tour with, almost all of them except for one good buddy of mine, Selena Wilson, who re-enlisted. Everybody else got out. They're like, nope.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't do it. I couldn't enter the Marine Corps and spend my only time in the Marine Corps at Quantico that I could have driven 11 hours from Florida to come to anytime I wanted to. And so I re-enlisted and under the selection orders, and I got orders out to Marine Corps Base Hawaii.
There
Oh,
you go.
nice.
There you go.
And that's where kind of the Marine Corps life really started.
Yeah.
Get out
Good
there.
payback.
Got in the Pacific, got a good 4 years out there, but more importantly, that's where really started to get to do some combat camera stuff. Got to go on the flat bottom LSTs, the Frederick. We were talking about earlier about last people on the boats, but I mean, the Frederick was the last of the Gator freighters. So I got a chance to get on the last of the flat bottoms, and of course Pahakalua training area and Lava Dog in it, and a good buddy of mine who had been with me at Quantico actually gone on and was with Recon, was with Fourth Force. So Sean Yancey. So I mean, Sean used to take me out on all the recon stuff. So I was getting to jump out of the back of planes.
Oh,
I was getting to
nice.
swim out of torpedo tubes, and document, film all the recon guys doing their stuff. Got to go, start traveling, go to Thailand, got to go to Vietnam, some other places on different missions out of there. And so that really kind of really was the start of
Mm-hmm.
the combat camera career, and really set the foundation for like, yeah, this is something I want to continue to do. And, ultimately wound up serving 30 years in that community overall, and
Yeah.
wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, a great job. Probably, people, like call us, oh, you're just picture takers or shutterbugs or snapshot, but honestly, the
Yeah.
job exposes you to so many aspects of the Marine Corps. You get to go out with, like I said, you're out with artillery. Some days you may be with the Con Ed folks and the admin guys.
Yeah.
You're getting to really get a taste of everything the Marine Corps does, because everybody wants you to come out and document what's going on
And
so,
tell their story.
and
Yeah.
to
You're
tell their story. And
storytellers.
so to be a storyteller and to document the history of the Marine Corps has just been phenomenal, and it was a
Yeah, and I
great
mean,
job.
just logistically too, and one of the things I noted, similarly, didn't really know a ton about ComCam until we had them attached to us, and there's so many enabling capabilities that ComCam would provide. One of them was huge; was they would help with sensitive site exploitation,
Yeah.
because the photos that they take. And we were at a time where some of the kinetics were starting to ramp down, and so it wasn't like we're trying to really instill rule of law as we're letting the Iraqi government sort of have more control over their own country. Sounds weird, but I mean that's how it goes. And so it wasn't just okay that like, hey, there's a shithead in this building, let's just blow it up. And so you had to build a case like a police officer, so that if you rolled up some dude, we need all of this evidence, and like like evidence handling, sensitive site exploitation, getting that intel and stuff. And so having combat camera there, so that it's not just a couple of us freaking knuckle draggers just with a stupid digital camera taking
Yeah.
pictures, like an actual person who knows like can set the scene and like, hey, here's the things that we were looking for, or hey, we missed this. Hey, we had that ComCam guy there.
Yeah.
Like, let's
Yeah.
see, like, did Lance Corporal Schmuckatelli get a photo of it, and we might have missed something or whatever. But one thing I did note though too is like with all enablers, it's not just like, hey, I'm just gonna cruise out with my camera. Like he had his own kit with him as well, to include his 180 rounds of
Sure.
M6, M4, all of his pyro that he needs to take with us, his IFAC, like
Yep.
all the stuff. Plus, he's got all this camera shit with him too.
Yeah, it's like I said, I think sometimes people just don't fully understand again what we bring. And maybe it's my mindset too. I've always I train my Marines the same way. Like every Marine's a rifleman. My first job is to integrate into that unit, you know what I mean, in that line
Mhm.
company, and to be another trigger puller when the trigger needs to be pulled. So like me personally, like I said, my time when I was in combat, I mean, I had 16 M16 magazines, 11 9mm magazines, 4 frags, all my stuff. You know what I mean? I was carrying rockets or whatever needed to be done for that unit to be successful. That was primary. Secondary was for me was to take pictures. Not everybody always sees it the same way. I mean, you'll find different people view what they're
Right.
the importance of the camera. But I always found, for me personally, it was how can I make this unit that I'm attached to, you know what I mean? I have to integrate into, feel like I'm part of that team, so that they welcome me a little bit more, right? When they realize like, yeah, this guy's going to carry the load. You know what I mean? It's not just a diner and a defecator, you know what I mean? But this person's here and is going to be part of this team. They start to open up, start to get access, and you start to build that camaraderie with those, with those units. And to your point of earlier about like what we bring, like, I mean, I can remember we had hit a stash and we had some DVDs. They were video CDs, but they were in foreign PAL content. Well, nobody over there could watch the PAL because they didn't have, everything was NTSC formatting for them. But being combat camera, I had a laptop with all the conversion software, so I was able to take those things, play them, show them to the intel officers and stuff like that were on scene, right? And some of them were, there were a couple of them were videos of like people being beheaded, right, and stuff like that. But it was allowed the intel community to instantly on site gain an understanding of what we had just found, the importance of those things, and kind of what was going on in the AO. Did a lot of long range surveillance and stuff with force recon guys who go sit out there with a 800 millimeter with a converter 1600 millimeter and just take long range photos and just track HVTs and stuff like that. And so really can be a force multiplier when applied the right way. If leaders out there know how to use this and they understand what we bring to the fight. And we got to educate them also. We got to make sure like, hey, this is what we can do for you. We're not just out here to take pictures. We're out here to do something like me personally, when we were in the middle of Fallujah, we were taking a building, and we were trying to figure out how to. The platoon commander was trying to figure out how to navigate to our next objective we were to step off on, and it was a lot of alleyways and blind things we couldn't really see, and so probably not smart of me, but I left the security of the zone. I went down. I started walking the alleyways and just taking pictures. And I got to a point to where I could hear, there's enough insurgent activity around me that I didn't feel so like,
Yeah.
like
This is getting a little gnarly.
yeah, I'm alone and unafraid. You know what I mean? A good, 200, 300 yards above, in front of the lines at least, and nobody can see me and nobody knows I'm out here. But I was able to come back, and right then, just same thing, bring the camera up on the LCD and show the lieutenant like, hey, hey sir, here's what it looks like for the next, 200-300 yards down these alleyways, plotted out, and then we were able to help, make that. Something that, again, this is way before we had a lot of overhead drones the same way, you know what I mean? Like, especially small unit drones and stuff like that. Like, those things didn't exist. And so, in having that kind of capability, being able to help leaders make informed decisions that hopefully would potentially save lives, like, that's kind of the gist of what we really can bring to the fight.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and then just also, too, I mean, inherent in your job is we're talking Fallujah, shameless plug. We just put out our documentary video. We had Luis Agostini was one of our contributors, and maintaining that legacy too, because it's one thing to like, especially for kids who maybe in this day and age who are coming into the Marine Corps may not have even been born. I know, right?
That's hard
Crazy.
to
At the time.
get
So
my head
like,
around.
hey,
Okay.
I see all these
Okay.
battle streamers and all these other Marines talking about Fallujah. What is it? I can Wikipedia it for sure. But there's a sense of the personal nature of that imagery from those folks like yourself from ComCam and things who, for veterans who are remembering, maybe it's been a full 20 years since they even thought about it again, to look and see like the specificity of that moment that you've captured is so visceral for those veterans, to where like you could put a picture, like you could take a veteran of Ramadi and a veteran of Fallujah and then just show them two pictures and they'll be able to tell you, yeah, that was Fallujah, that was Ramadi, I was there. And so that personalization of it's not just legacy. Our last episode we were talking about Iwo and the power of that image of raising the flag at Mount Suribachi. It's very similar in that way, is that these engagements mattered more than just at a strategic big blue arrow thing. It mattered for those individual Marines who were there because there's so much more of the story, but yet you were able to capture. I don't know. I'm rambling at this point, but I think it's really important that it's more than like we talk a lot of legacy stuff. Obviously, the Marine Corps is huge on smelling our own farts, but rightfully so, right? Like, and so
Smell like roses.
Yeah. Totally. Like, just really bring it all in.
How did I end up here? I really don't know.
So yeah, could you talk a little bit more, I guess, about sort of your experiences in Fallujah? We're sort of coming off of the tail end of the anniversary, but I mean, I think it's still, especially like, with the museum opening the exhibit and stuff, like.
And you contributed, before you answer, you contributed some of your images to, was it the DAV to use for their project?
DAV.
So you had an opportunity really 20 years later to go back and look through all of that again.
Yeah, kind of to your point, Vic, you were just mentioning a second ago. For me, it has been a full 20 years since I've really started to open up, that whole Fallujah time frame. I was fortunate enough, a couple individuals with the Disabled American Veterans, started with Dan Clare, who's a legacy PA guy, and then also Brian Buckwalter, who's a legacy PA, public affairs and Comstrat guy from the Marine Corps, had kind of reached out to me, again, back a year plus or so ago, and Dan Clare kind of reintroduced me to Aubrey McDade, the Navy Cross winner, who was with my unit with Bravo Company 1-8. He was a Marine Gun section leader, and he won the Navy Cross for when we got ambushed in an alleyway one night, and we lost Corporal Anderson inside of there. A couple of the Marines that were wounded pretty good, and subsequently got hit later on that night too. And so his actions that night for his bravery is obviously what he won the Navy Cross for. But it's been 20 years really talking to Aubrey McDade, just having a chance to sit down with Aubrey a little bit, speak with him, start just cracking open the door a little bit. And then last August, I got invited out to the DAV's convention in Phoenix, and got to do some on-camera work with them, some interviews about the Fallujah time frame, and also got to sit on a panel with Aubrey, Christine Knight, and Lucian Reed, and kind of discuss our own experiences. And we had a little moment, Aubrey and Christine and I. Christine was a medic with the Army, and we were talking backstage before the panel, and she's like, I saw so many guys, come out and really hard, and she's like, I only remember one person, I can only remember one of them, really, like, name, and she's like, Jake Nospler. Well, Jake Nospler was with our unit too, and Jake had caught a frag grenade, exploded on a staircase, and caught him underneath the chin and kind of ripped out his face. And for me, it was one of the most traumatic times. We talk about how you freeze in combat. It was probably the only second time that I froze in combat is when I went white light, and he's standing there trying to hold his face together and gurgling on blood, and I don't know what Lance Corporal, whatever, smacked me. I was like, hey, Staff Sergeant, let's go, and we got to get going. And we got him out of there, and I never saw Jake again, I knew he made it, because, you kind of follow up, but I never saw Jake again. And so we had when she said Jake, and I was like, holy, like, Aubrey, come here. Like, she treated Jake. Like, she's the one that saved Jake, when we lost him that night.
Wow.
When we put him on that medevac. And here we were, I haven't talked to Aubrey in 20 years. I've never met Christine beforehand, and here we are at this one little moment in time.
I just got
me too. I'm getting them. Our lives intertwined in a way,
Yeah.
you just can't imagine. And so Aubrey picks up his phone, and he calls Jake. He's got Jake's number in there, and he calls Jake, and all three of us are there getting to talk to Jake. And Jake, like, for Christine, she gets to hear his voice. Me too, she gets to hear the voice of the man whose entire face was ripped apart when she was treating him, trying to keep him alive. And so, we're all just back there crying. It's been 20 years, since I've seen most of them.
Yeah.
Never met Christine. She's never seen Jake or heard him. So, those type of connections, it's not quite Fallujah proper, I guess. But those are
that's a wonderful.
Those are the
story.
things, that we went through.
Yeah.
Like the sort of the tragedies that have touched lives 20 years later. That we're finding some healing, some ability to come together and cry and open things up a little bit. And for me, talk about it. I still got a lot of anger. A lot of anger with some of the leadership and decisions that were made out there. That really shut me off from going to, like, reunions and things. Like, I really avoided my brothers for 20 years. And so just having a chance, we went to the reunion at the museum. When they opened the exhibit, we had a private thing for all the people from Fallujah, and I got to sit down with a lot of my my brothers from 1-8 that were out there at the time, and just connect and talk to them again and share pictures. And I've gone out in town with a couple of the couple of guys since, and just sat down for beers and drink. So it is good after 20 years to come back around. And I think if there's a lesson to be learned, it's find strength in your brothers and your sisters. Because they're the only ones that can help you heal.
Yeah.
Mom and dad are great. Your therapist is great. But it's your brothers and sisters that went through those same things with you that truly understand, that can help you heal and start moving on in life. And so, it's been a long journey. It's been a long 20 years. But for me, like, just kind of coming back around, and trying to have a little bit of, I don't know what the word I want to use here, but just levity and come to grips with some of those things. It's been good.
Has it gotten easier to talk about it since you first started?
It has. It has. I still don't talk a lot about it, but certainly, it's easier to talk with with, like I said, my fellow, brothers from 1-8 who were there. I mean, we sit down, and then you also realize, like, everybody's perspective is so different. You know what I mean? Like, we all were at the same events, and they start like, oh, I remember this. And I was like, I mean, I was talking to some of the guys the other day. We got ambushed in that alleyway, and they're like, yeah. And that tank. And I was like, what tank?
Yeah.
And they're like, there was no tank. They're like, yeah, there was the tank at the thing. And I was like, there was no fucking tank there. And they're like, oh, yeah. Like, and so, like, you realize, like, there's certain, like,
Yeah.
you don't even have, like, you have your version, right? Like, your movie in my mind. And,
Yeah.
I tell everybody, I don't have a photographic memory, but I see my memories in photographs, being a photographer. Like, everything's a still frame to me, this and all these little pictures that add up, but you still don't have the full picture. You know what I mean?
It's so funny. It's because, like, in the moment, you feel like you're so hyper aware. But then your recall of it is so stovepipe.
Yes.
I've had a similar situation where I've talked to folks and I'm like, was I even there? Like, what the fuck is happening? Like, what the, yeah. So that's really, but yeah, I think what you've said is so profound, as far as that idea. I'm similar, and it's still a demon that I struggle with, is that I always want to withdraw is sort of my thing, which is an interesting being, having been a Marine, and the idea, like, running towards the sound of chaos, right? But, like, for me internally, I do the exact opposite. I'm like, oh, that's sticky, that's difficult, I'm not going to deal with that ever.
Fighting your own demons is certainly a whole different thing than fighting an actual external force or whatever. I mean, I tell them, I blame it on the naval service. They train us so much about, like, compartmentalizing and watertight everything. Like, everything's compartmentalized. You know what I mean? Like, I'm batting down hatches.
Definitely the Navy's fault.
Yeah, it's Navy's fault. I squeezed all the air out of that little bag. It's waterproofed. I'm compartmentalized. Like, I'm good. Like, it's in there somewhere. You know what I mean? But we'll just leave it there.
Yeah,
So
it's watertight.
It's watertight. Don't take it out of the pack.
Do not
it's
take
good.
it out. Yeah. You lose your water integrity. No, for sure. But that's such a good word, and something that I'm definitely working through. So what was that like then? So you were a staff NCO in Fallujah, and then you retired at one of the highest points that any Marine can achieve. What were the after years like for you? And the reason I ask is because I think from my bird's eye view of the Marine Corps now is that we're in a sort of a gap. Well, all of us sort of long, gray beards are gone, and now you've got none of that. Like, we had an abundance of combat experience at the middle management level, and now they're at the highest levels or out. And so, what was it like for you to be with these young Marines, and what advice would you have for the middle management leaders when the young Marines are like, what happened? What happens when when the shit goes down? There's not that resident knowledge anymore. What were your experiences like sharing that, coming back sort of the ComCam community with all these experiences? What was it like for you then? What was it like for you to continue to move up the ranks as well?
Yeah, I mean, so I came off of Fallujah, rotated back out of country in March of 2005, got back to Camp Pendleton, got selected for gunny sergeant, got orders right away, and punched out of Blue Diamond and 1st Marine Division, which really didn't want to go. I went kicking and fighting. You know what I mean? Those are your guys. You just came back off a deployment, and 5 months later, they're like, "Oh, you're leaving." And they're working up. They're getting ready to go back. You know, and that was a rough transition. And I got orders. I got orders as a gunny to Marine Corps Air Station Yuma, which essentially a station non-deploying. And oddly enough, that deployment in 2004 was my last deployment for the rest of my career as far as, like, combat deployments. I mean, that whole entire time.
Really?
Yeah. It baffles me. You know what I mean? That you never, you couldn't find my way back into another deployment rotation for another 15 years, or whatever the case may be. 15 plus years, never got another combat rotation, not to Afghanistan, not back to Iraq. And so that was hard, right? Like that's hard as a guy who's been out there, who especially, like I said, grew up with that infantry mindset, as a young combat cameraman. And I think how I won't say dealt with, but how I tried to make my mark was then turning that from the leadership standpoint, where like train your Marines like they're going to fight. And I think we undervalue that, where it
Yeah.
becomes trite and people kind of forget it, like, oh yeah, train as we fight, but
Yeah.
honestly, you have to train your Marines like they're going to fight, because you can't, and in combat camera in the rear, we have a garrison mission too, right? And you can't train them in that garrison mission. You can't let them think like it's a studio or mass reproduction, just mass print work or grip and grin ceremonies. Like you got to get them out in the
promotion
sand.
photos.
Promotion photos, right? Like you got to get them out in the dirt. They got to be out in the field. They got to be out with those units. They got to be in the exercises. They got to be carrying their gear, because that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to be like when they go down range. And if you're not training them for the fight, for the inevitable fight, not training them to be a basic rifleman, not training them in tactical skills, understanding tactical lingo, how to read maps, how to communicate, how to integrate, you're failing them. You know what I mean? And so for me, not having a chance personally to go back down range and fight that fight again, I was always trying to train my Marines better, trying to prepare them, because I knew they were going, regardless of where I was at, they were going to go eventually. Like they were going to go down range, in the country, and they were going to find themselves in harm's way. And they still had to do the mission. They had to do not only that basic rifleman mission, but they're going to have to do that combat camera mission on top of that. And so I really harped on the leadership role, as far as just a lot of training. I was big on training the Marines along the way. And of course, Yuma wound up being a blessing in disguise for me at the end of the day. It was one of those odd units for our community that didn't have an officer. So as the gunny, I was in charge of the unit. So it did build a good foundation for policies, so starting to write this, the shop SOPs and the policies, starting to work on the budget, starting to work through a lot more of the personnel management, and working with, career planners for moving people around, integrating with headquarters for just guidance and stuff like that. So it provided me individually a great opportunity to kind of cut my teeth and hone my skills in a leadership role, which ultimately set me up for success. For years, especially as a staff sergeant, and come off the drill field, having combat tours, a lot of the chief warrant officers in the community like, hey, you need to put in your warrant officer package. And I was like, fuck no. You know what I mean? I was like flat black mafia. You know what I mean? Like, I am not coming to hang out with you, shit bags. Like freaking. Because some of them I didn't care for. You know what I mean? Like some of them you're like, these guys are not. I don't want to be associated with you. Like I'm perfectly happy where I'm at and being on the enlisted side. And I did that for years, like I said, and finally, around 2007, 2008 timeframe, must have been around 2007 the first time, my mentor growing up, Master Guns Jim Roberts, who was retiring, he said, John, he's like, if you ever truly want to make a change in this OC field, you're going to have to become an officer. He's like, after 30 years as a Master Gunnery Sergeant, he's like, I can influence decisions, I can give my advice. I was like, but I don't get to make those decisions. The officers are going to make those decisions. And so if you really want to be a difference maker in this community for the long haul, you're going to have to become an officer. And I thought on that for a little bit. And so I put in my warrant officer package, and then the first year we didn't have any allocations. So I asked the commander if I could pull my package back, because I didn't want to get selected for something else. And Colonel Ben Hancock, who was my station commander, awesome guy, Blue Angel pilot, kind of got just great commanders, like, sure, gunny, pull it back. Pulled it back. And next year reapplied. And we had some allocations. I went to an interview at the 3rd MAW, and they had an inboard. And the interview did not go well. I was the number 1 package coming out of the air station from Yuma. I went to the interview, got done with the interview. Some master sergeant comes out, he's like, hey, gunny, he's like, the board was just wondering, those pants are like, did you have them tailored or altered or anything? And I was like, no, Master Sergeant, like these are like straight, like, off the rack officer equipment type, trousers or whatever. He's like, oh, because they thought your belt loops were too big. And I was like,
what?
I swear to God, I was like, the board thought my belt loops were too big. We're having this conversation right now, right, Master Sergeant? Right, like this is the problem. So like I get back. And so they get done, they come and brief everybody out, and they're like, hey, the board's going to not recommend you for the program. They just thought you were too uptight, and you were just, and I was like,
Wow.
So I go back to you, and I walk straight into the colonel's, knock on the door. Hey sir, you got a minute? He's like, yeah, Gunny, come on in. Like I said, we had a great relationship, great leader. And I was like, hey sir, I just want to let you know right now that the board's not recommending me for the program. And he was like, Gunny, what the fuck happened? He's like, what the fuck did you do? Kind of like
Belt loops.
I was like, belt loops, Colonel. He's like, what? And I explained it to him, and he was like, okay. And so he's like, let me get back to you. And I was like, go back, do your thing. And so he wound up, long story short, I found out he wound up calling the commanding general's like,
Are you shitting me?
yeah, he's like, you're getting it wrong. And so the general recommended with reservation, which is still not great.
Yeah.
No.
And somehow I still got selected. So it tells you, like I said, I coming out of the air station, #1 package. By that point in my career, I had a pretty good, military record, and I obviously went to Wobick and got, promoted, and everything's fine. And obviously, we come full circle to your point, like managed to, progress all the way up to Chief Warrant Officer 5 before I retired. But yeah, it was great. And then again, transitioning that into the officer side, and then really starting to be able to make what I believe is, an impression on the OC field, on my specific, combat camera. Got to go out to, I think, the pinnacle of my career, one of my pinnacles of my career from the combat camera perspective, and certainly as an officer, was the time I spent in 3MEF and Marine Corps Installation Specific over in Okinawa, also part of 3rd Marine Division, FAPTA over there. But got down there, myself and one of my peers, Chief Warrant Officer Clint Runyon, who I always say is the guy I want to be when I grow up. He's even though I was senior to him, that guy was just exceptional. I mean, he was such a technician in the craft, and his morals, like his family base and the morals, fabric that he had was just, he's an amazing guy. I got the chance to work with Face, and so Face and I inherited this consolidated combat camera unit in Okinawa that was just, it was a wreck. The previous leadership there had just been like, oil and water. The two chief warrant officers had fought tooth and nail. And it ripped the shop apart. The shop was not good, and so we started building it up. And we had a couple good Master Sergeant Mike Schellenbach and Master Sergeant Robinson, Antoine Snoop Robinson. And anyway, so we started building this together, and after about a year of really hard work, the unit won the combat camera of the
Nice.
unit of the year.
That's cool.
And then we won it a second time, and then we won it an unprecedented third time. And so we had took something, like again with good leadership and a lot of hard work, again building on those foundations,
Mm-hmm.
training those Marines to go down range, getting them, increasing the unit deployment. Like, hey, you guys are going out, and I mean, our Marines were deploying on average the unit, like, if there's 386 days in a year, they were deploying collectively almost 600 days. I mean, it was just, we were out the door.
Yeah.
The op tempo over there is big anyway, but we
Yeah.
were just getting them out the door. And we got major operations, Operation Damayan in the Philippines, and then we had Operation Nepal, or Operation Sahayogi Hat in Nepal after the earthquakes. And of course, we also lost Jake and Sarah there. So Corporal Sarah Medina and Lance Corporal Jacob Hug, two of our combat cameramen that died on the Vengeance 01 HMLA 469 helicopter crash, along with those 4 Marines, from the Hilo,
Yeah.
and some Nepalese soldiers. So, but that was, in a way, as hard as that hit the unit, I mean, that really hurt the unit, but it was also another reality. Like, this is what we've
This
been
we
training
did,
for.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we tell you this is an inherently dangerous job. Like,
Mhm.
being a Marine is inherently dangerous. Being a combat camera going on missions out there is inherently dangerous. You have to train, and training's not going to stop some of the inevitable. Like, people are still going to die sometimes, you know what I mean? But you got to be prepared, and that really helped also, kind of set this foundation to continue to
Yeah.
work on their mental aspect of what it means to be out there.
Well, then, especially as a leader, the last thing you want to do, because you're going to second guess everything. The one thing you don't want to have to second guess is, did I train them well enough?
Yeah, I think
that's one of the things, at least for me. I inherently just beat myself up about things in hindsight, anyways, and so I always wanted to at least take that one off the table, and it was still going to come up, obviously, anytime you lose a Marine, but I wanted to make sure that wasn't the main thing
The reason,
that I could point to.
Well, Face and I definitely, I mean, I think we both, we both believe we trained those Marines well.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's an email that Face sent me the night before that we lost Jake and Sarah, and he sent an email to me and the Master Sergeants, and he's like, hey, I was like, one of the guys he's like, and there's a little picture with it, and the picture was the team. It was an overview, like a bird's eye view of the team, and the team's all huddled around the tables, and they're working on their computers, and you got the master sergeants, kind of standing back there in the thing, supervising, everybody's doing their stuff, and the story of the verbiage is something like this. He's like, about 0100 last night, random lieutenant colonel walks into the work area, and sees the Marines working, and he comes over and he says, "Hey, Chief Warrant Officer," he's like, how do you guys, how do you guys get so much done? You guys are working. Like, how do you guys get so much done? He's like, and Faye said, "Sir," he's like, "we get so much done by working, by shooting all day and then working all night." And Lieutenant Colonel looked at him. He's like, "You mean the same Marines are doing everything?" And he's like, "Yes, sir. These Marines are doing everything." And Lieutenant Colonel said, "It's amazing." And Faye says, "Yes, sir. These Marines are amazing." And that's how we tried to make them. We tried to make them amazing so that they would be able to do the best they could downrange. And I'm sorry for getting choked up.
No,
That's
you don't have to apologize.
think
No
about
apologies.
what the team was doing downrange. And getting that the night before we lost the 2 Marines, and just telling about how good, like how well the team was doing downrange. How well we had trained them and how hard they were working to get the mission done. And then we wind up losing Jake and Sarah the next day. So yeah,
And that must have been tough for everybody.
It is. I mean, anybody that loses.
When you get so close.
Yeah.
And form those tight
it's hard
bonds.
like I said, especially when you start building a good unit. You know what I mean? Then it hurts even more. And I think I learned a good lesson too back in Iraq. I lost Lance Corporal, as you were, Corporal William Salazar. He was the first combat cameraman killed in combat since Vietnam, and he died on October 15, 2004, on a PSYOP mission up in Al Qaim area. And I remember coming back off a mission myself, and I got back to and one of the random captains come up and he's like, "Hey, Staff Sergeant, Corporal Salazar was killed today." And of course that hit really hard for me too. I was kind of shocked, and went in to see the regimental commander, Colonel Tucker, and I come in and talk to Colonel a little bit, and we just exchanged a little bit of words, and then at the end I was like, "Yes, sir, he was a good Marine." And Colonel Tucker looked at me and he goes, "They all are." And for me, that made me realize, as a staff sergeant at the time, like, as much weight as I was carrying, as much grief as I was carrying on my shoulders for one Marine, here's the regimental commander who's lost, dozens, hundreds,
Right.
you know what I mean? Who's got to write all those family letters home, and the weight that he's carrying. And it helped me understand the burden of leadership, what the burden of leadership truly is at the end of the day. It also helps shape you. Like, you got to put the work in, right? Like, leadership takes time, and you got to really, if you want to be a good leader, you got to put in the work. And you got to be dedicated to your Marines, even more so than yourself. Sometimes you got to be really dedicated to them. And because it's heavy as the crown, when you're a commander or you're leading and you're in charge, it's a lot of responsibility, and you owe them, them everything you have to train them the best.
Yeah. No, that was the thing that broke me, was that the weight of, the thought of losing a Marine was almost unbearable. And so of all of the things that we experienced across my career, that was the thing. It was a burden that was just really, really hard to carry. And I was like, obviously as a Marine, you're always putting on that face because you got to fucking push on, man. Yeah. Like, who gives a shit about, what the fucking captain, is dealing with. But at the same time, it was just like, that was so, it was an every minute of every day, like checking the patrol schedule, who's out, where are they? Like, give me a sit rep. Like, did they call in? Like, all these things, like constantly fucking freaking out, but then trying not to show that you're freaking out. That was, dude. So I feel you.
And when you don't have comms, in some of those areas, and you have no communication, and you guys are out, and they're on multi-day patrols or multi-day missions. They're on a reconnaissance patrol. You're like, and you don't hear anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it is.
He's gonna be out on a 3-day OP.
Yeah, it's nerve-wracking. You haven't heard anything, and you're like, what's going on with them? And especially, like I said, once you've lost a Marine too, and you truly could, like, okay, where are they? Where are my, where are my little hens? My little chicks. Like, where are they at? Because they're out there somewhere, and it is nerve-wracking.
So I mean, it's super fascinating. We could go down maybe a separate podcast as we talk about leadership and stuff. But
Yeah, it's my
such
favorite.
such great such great words there. But you're working on so you leave the Marine Corps. Talk to us a little bit about your career now. This is really fascinating to me, and I hope that folks are listening and taking this in because it was something that I didn't consider until much later. But you're a park ranger here in the state of Virginia. Like,
Yeah. So my last tour was back in the five-sided puzzle palace, the Pentagon, which is a place I absolutely this was my second tour in the building, and I despise that place. Sidetrack is the Pentagon's like Hotel California, like you can check in, but you can never
can't
leave.
check out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they do such a great job of putting everything inside that building so that you don't have an excuse to leave. You know what I mean? Like, if you ever been
Don't
in there,
see the daylight.
yeah. So they don't want you to leave. I mean, everything is in there, right? Like full on CVS
Malls, yeah.
pharmacies,
Dry
dental,
cleaner.
dry cleaners, post office, movie rentals,
Gyms.
chocolatiers, clothing,
Yeah.
great gym, great, fantastic gym. A DMV, like the best DMV you're ever gonna get because the line's always short. Oh yeah,
Mhm.
look at this.
Yeah,
Look at the
there's
face they have to
DMV
give. It's
there,
like
yeah.
what? Yeah, you'd walk into DMV and you'd spend no more than like 10 minutes
Yeah.
because they want you in and out. So you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out. And so yeah, I despise that building, but they make it so like everything is on site. Like no, you don't have to take half a day to go do this. Go down to the
Yeah.
corridor 9 on the second second floor, and
Wow.
you're gonna find. Yeah, it is. All right, I digress a little bit. That's just I couldn't stand it. So I was at the Pentagon, and the tour prior to that I had been at 1MEF. And I'd actually believed that 1MEF was going to be my retirement destination or my final tour.
Camp Delmar.
Yeah, Delmar. Oh, it was so
God's
great.
country.
Oh, it was beautiful. Not quite Margaritaville because I'm a Blue Diamond, but Delmar's
Yeah.
good. So I'd gone out there. I was a Chief Warrant Officer 4. I was the second senior guy in the OC field, but the Chief Warrant Officer 5 at the time, Georgie Hernandez, he was like 4 years junior to me in service. And so I couldn't outlast him. I would hit my mandatory retirement beforehand. So I was like, this is going to be it. And I was like, well, what do I want to do with myself? I was like, I want to be a park ranger. I mean, I love the outdoors. I
Yeah.
love nature. I grew up doing like Sierra Club and camping all the time and going to the state parks in Florida, you
Yeah.
know. And I was like, let me go back to college and let me get a second education in environmental sciences. And so I enrolled in Palomar Community College out there, and I just focused on getting a 2-year general studies degree, but with a focus of math and science. And it really was a focus in science because
Yeah.
my math is not very good. So I did take the minimum algebra
Yeah.
requirement.
Same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I went to college to be
Yeah.
a vet.
Yeah.
And then I ended up being as a Marine, if that tells
Yeah,
you how my
yeah.
math went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, this algebra
Different
thing.
kind of vet.
Yeah, I was like, math, let's just stick to sciences. So I wound up getting a whole bunch of environmental science degrees, and I fast-tracked everything because I knew I was, like I said, I thought I was going to have to retire. So, I mean, I was taking double course load. So, basically the, full semester in half the time, and I was just full load, three classes at a time, just plugging them out.
While being on active duty.
While being on
full-time.
active duty. I got great shots to be like in a tent in the field, you know what I mean? So I'm in at a CPX or whatever. I'm sitting in a tent at night. I got my headlamp on. I've got my biology book, and I'm reading, got a
quiz.
got a little Lagunitas on the floor, which you probably shouldn't supposed to have, but I got my cold beer, got my biology book, and I'm reading by headlamp trying to get through college while I'm in the middle of a field X,
Yeah.
But that's what we do, right? Like you Marine Corps, like we're going to do what we have to do. And so I crammed through, and I, basically knocked out 2 years of college in about 10, 11 months, and got my associate's degree and got the minimum kind of environmental science credits I need to transition. I was really looking at national parks at the time, and
Okay.
they say, hey, you need probably, of course, they want you to have a bachelor's degree, but a minimum of like 18 to 22 environmental, credits in environmental sciences. So I got all that stuff. And so I was like, okay, now I got my degree. I can start transition. I'm ready. Well, then Chief Warrant Officer Hernandez, Georgie retired unexpectedly. He got remarried. His new wife didn't like lifestyle. They're moving on. So I was like, opportunity. Get promoted to 5. Now I'm back in the Marine Corps for a little while and kind of put that on the back burner. All right, fast forward. Pentagon, ready to go. I was fortunate enough within the Pentagon that I had some really good leadership at the time who allowed me to explore and use the Skill Bridge program.
Okay, great.
And being the sole Chief Warrant Officer 5 in the OC field and being
Yeah.
a linchpin within the OC field for all our dot mil PF type stuff, I'm a little surprised, but I'm forever grateful that they allowed me to do the Skill Bridge. And so I went.
Can
and
you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For those who aren't aware
Well
of what
done,
that is?
Vic.
Yeah, good call.
There you
Good
go.
call. So, for those that aren't aware, obviously the DoD Skill Bridge program is a program that allows active duty service members to transition out of the Marine Corps by providing, for lack of better terms, internship opportunities. So you can apply for Skill Bridge. You can find folks that are in the approved DoD Skill Bridge listings, and as long as your command agrees and you can get the command buy-off and you're prepped and you've done all your taps and tamps, so you've met your Marine Corps requirements and you are ready to.
You're just waiting.
You're waiting essentially to retire or EAS or whatever it is the case may be. You can apply for this Skill Bridge program, and the program's changing a little bit, so I don't want to speak out of turn on the policy. But when I was doing it, you could get up to 6 months on Skill Bridge, which is a pretty long time for transition.
That's
I mean,
nice.
that's a long transition period. And oddly enough, I had found out about this at 1MEF from a bunch of lieutenants. So all lieutenant underground, they fully knew, right? Like all these college educated folks that are already like, my time in the Marine Corps is done. How can I minimize this? Oh, I can Skill Bridge. So we had like,
I don't want to be the damn 3 tango.
Yeah.
Do Skill Bridge. Yeah.
So at 1MEF, I think I had like 5 lieutenants that lieutenants or junior captains that did Skill Bridge around me, and I was like, oh, okay, I see how this works, And so I finally got my opportunity and to do the Skill Bridge program. And I had already been doing some volunteer work here locally at one of the state parks. It's Widewater State Park here in Stafford, just outside of Quantico. And so I reached out to the chief ranger for interpretation out there, and I said, hey, Jamie, I'm interested in this program. Do you guys have Skill Bridge? Like, I don't see you in the in the repository of things, but she's like, I don't think so, but let me see. So she reached out to headquarters, and long story short, I got a contact by a gentleman named Eric Hooglin, who's in charge of training. He's basically the Department of Conservation and Recreation's training head. And it's like, hey, we do have a Skill Bridge program, and we model it off of our professional development program for college students that are looking to transition into natural resources and as a job. And they had this wonderful 40-week deliberate program where they could set the syllabus on. It's like, hey, here's what you're going to be doing for the next 40 weeks. And you're going to do week 1 is just orientation to parks and park policy in your park. And, week 2 is admin type stuff like office management and the different systems and a little bit of retail and then some contact ranger stuff. And then you hit maintenance. And then after some maintenance, you're going to do housekeeping. And after housekeeping, you're going to do overnight facilities. And after that, you're going to do interpretation. And then you're going to go do natural resources, and then you're going to do a little bit of law enforcement, which is kind of caged because I wasn't an actual trained law enforcement, so you can't do like ride-alongs, but they can kind of show you kind of the stuff they go through. Long story short, you get a full, comprehensive understanding of what park rangering was about.
Yeah.
Especially at least in Virginia, right? And so I just fell into this wonderful opportunity where it wasn't just come do an internship and we don't know what you're going to do with you, but we'll work you and
we'll figure something
we'll figure it out. And maybe
Yeah.
that transitions into a job and, like maybe it doesn't or, and so I got very lucky. I had great leadership who, allowed me, matter of fact, the Marine Corps Association's vice president for communications, Mike Armistead, was my boss at the time, and he allowed me to do it. Colonel Chris Devine,
Such
who
a
was our
nice
deputy
guy.
director, allowed me to
He's
do
such a
it.
good guy.
Yeah, so we got lucky that way. That's probably why I like MCA so much. You guys got good people around here.
We got good people.
Good
up in this
peoples.
place.
Good peoples. And so I did my internship, and obviously, like any other government job, they couldn't guarantee me a position, right? You still have to compete. So came back to the Marine Corps, did my retirement ceremony, retired out, went on terminal leave, started applying for jobs, and there happened to be 2 positions at Widewater. One was the chief ranger for interpretation or visitor experience, which, again, I probably wasn't as qualified for. I mean, I've just never been a park ranger, you know what I mean? But now you want to be the chief ranger and kind of be in charge of interpretation. But I had a pretty extensive education and, and background in between being a drill instructor, being a swim instructor, being a martial arts instructor, being a range coach, teaching informally at the schoolhouse, developing lesson plans, being a formally trained public affairs officer, had a lot of background in education, public, developing programs, running programs, dealing with people. So I interviewed for the job, and I didn't get it. I was their second choice, which is pretty
Belt
good.
loops?
Yeah.
Was it?
It was belt
Belt
loops.
loops again.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, it was
damn
belt
belt
loops. Yeah, it's like,
loops.
damn, these pants. You'd think I'd learned the first time, like don't wear those pants back to a,
Fucking bell bottoms, man.
Yeah. Belt loops got me again.
Dumb creeps.
And so then they had a maintenance position open up, and I applied for that full-time maintenance position, and I was hired, and that's what I'm still doing today. So I've been on the job there at Whitewater State Park for a little over a year as a full-time maintenance ranger, and I tell everybody, at least especially the Marines, but anybody in the military understand, it's like being a Lance Corporal on battalion police, like being maintenance. Like,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of toilet cleaning, a lot of trash taken out. I mow a lot of grass. You know what I mean? Like you do a lot of menial type,
Fact maintenance.
yeah, a lot of fact maintenance. You know what I mean? You do a lot of like menial, like seems like menial work. And some people are like, oh my God, you went from being a Chief Warrant Officer 5 and and being at the pinnacle of this thing and doing all this stuff to picking up trash and mowing grass. And I'm like, yes.
I fucking love it.
I was like, you know how my mental state is? You know what I mean? Do you know like what a in general stress-free job
yeah.
and what it does for my family life and my
Yeah.
quality of life? Like I am not stressed out. I don't really have a desk. I barely have a laptop. I check email.
Yeah,
couple,
I'm outside.
I'm
all
out.
That must be
day.
so
And I'm
great.
outside
Yeah.
on my feet all day long, using my hands. You know what I mean? Cold, snow, outside. Rain, outside. 100 and something degrees outside.
Yeah.
It is liberating. And I
Yeah.
got all the, nature around me. You know what I mean? Like I'm out on trails. I'm building trails. I'm the only one out there. It's me and squirrels and birds, raccoons, foxes, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Eagles. Like I surrounded by nature all day. And it doesn't pay well. I mean, honestly, it doesn't pay great. You know what I mean? Like, sorry, Virginia State Parks, it's not the best pay. But it is a great job. You know what I mean? Like,
intangibles,
and
yeah.
it is all the intangibles. And I'm out, like I said, I'm just, it's mental space. Like I'm not in that, like just frantic, doing cheetah flips all the time mentally. And I can't sleep because I'm thinking about this big thing or that big. Like, no, I come home, spend some time with the family. I go to bed, everything's
Yeah.
great, get up and I get to go be outside again. And so like, I couldn't ask for a better transition job. It worked so, and I guess it's, I call it a success case. You know what I mean? Like I had a plan.
Mm-hmm.
I focused on that plan for 4 to 6 years. Going back to college, understand at least knowing where I was going, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
looking for those opportunities, using those programs that are available to you, using SkillBridge, making contacts, and
Yeah.
then transitioning that into that job field. And so I look at it as an overall success of just how you can prepare yourself.
100, and that's why I wanted to dive into this aspect of it for our listeners who are making that transition. It doesn't always have to be leaving active duty, but it definitely, I think for the junior Marines, this is something I hope you guys are really sinking your teeth into. I found one of the things about, especially first termers, is that so much of the Marine Corps is you're spoon fed, so
Yeah.
much of it, and rightfully so. For many Marines that are in uniform right now, couldn't even vote. A few years ago, and now all of a sudden we're telling you to grow up, and then all of those sort of intangibles that you don't consider, like you're told when to eat, where to eat, how to eat, where to sleep, where to put this on at this time, wear this thing at this time, don't wear these things in these places. And so a lot of it, although it seems very restrictive, is also very freeing because you don't have to think about those things. And now all of a sudden you're getting out, you go to TAP, and they're like, good luck.
Yeah.
Take all of these things that you use to be successful are not going to apply in the civilian world. And so I want people to listen to your story in that there are so many opportunities out there, but you do have to seize them. And you have to take that initiative to do the research and find out what programs there are, because these programs are funded. They're just waiting for people to apply for them.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just manifest
Yeah,
something.
I'm
You
a Marine.
actually have to do the work.
Why don't you want me? Of course you want me. I'm a Marine.
Yeah.
That is true, but you got to you got to put yourself out there to be known
Yeah.
that you're interested in these things.
Yeah. And I think, part of that too is again, this is where, especially for you talking to the junior Marines that are listening, is, go talk to your leadership, talk to your staff and COs particularly, right? Like they have a better idea. Like seek it out, look for the programs, ask the questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, get with the career planners, get with the counselors, the education center, because they know those things too. Like you do have to find those opportunities because Marine Corps is not going to spoon feed you those opportunities, right?
Exactly.
Because like they're looking for return on investment. They're
Yeah.
like, wait. Show you the door and how to be successful getting out, or work your ass for the next 3 months till you leave the day. You know what I mean? Like, no, they want to work the shit out of you, right? Like, I mean, it's an institute. I love the Marine Corps, right? But the green machine will chew you up and spit you out, and it won't look back.
Nope.
And it won't care, right? Like it wants to squeeze the turnip for as much as it can, as long as it can.
Yeah.
And you really do have to do your own work, and you have to go back and find those policies, and you have to say, hey, look, here's the policy. I want to use the policy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, and when you can put it to them in black and white, and then you can also maybe have a good transition time, especially for these are for the more staff and COs and those junior officers and stuff like that. Like, find a replacement. You know what I mean? That's one thing that I did is I went out and I was like, okay, I want the Marine Corps to let me go for 6 months and gap my billet. How can I do this? Well, I'm gonna go find another one of the senior chief warrant officers. I'm gonna work with with the monitor. I'm gonna say, hey, can we move this person from this place over here? It's a PCA. They don't have to PCS. There's no cost.
Right.
Like, they can be my backfill, or we can send them to like, and sometimes you got to do that, that little horse swapping, you know what I mean? Or find those answers so that when you go to your leadership and you say, hey, I want to do the skill bridge, or I want to do this program, whatever. Oh, by the way, the career jammer is going to send this person to replace me, and still it might be 2 months from now, but somebody's coming, you know what I mean? Like they're going to backfill, or hey, I can do this and that. If you've come up with solutions, they're going to be more inclined to let you walk out the door, and so know the policy. Do your best to set your unit up for success as you're transitioning out, because that's going to make your leadership happy and more inclined to support you as you're going out there, as opposed to just dropping a shit sandwich on you.
Here's a steaming turd.
Here's a flaming bag of poop, and I'm out. Like, enjoy this. Like,
don't stamp it out with your boots.
Yeah. But those are all great opportunities. And then I would say the second part is start making those contacts early. Like if you're going somewhere, start doing the research, start looking for contacts in the industry, get on that LinkedIn, find service members or Marines, especially if you know them that work in the industry you want, start reaching out, talk to them, have them look at your resume. One of the best things I did when I transitioned and I went to the parks was I'd been through the TAPS and TAMPs, and I was fortunate because of my rank. I got to go to the executive TAPS and TAMPs, and I went twice.
Yep.
And then audited sections a third time just to prepare myself. So again, if you're listening, go to TAPS and TAMPs more than once if you can. You know what I mean? Or just audit the days or the sections that you need more, like the VA stuff. Go back and listen to the VA stuff like 3 times.
Yeah.
Because you're still not going to get it right. You know what I mean? Go back and listen again and again and again. But use those contacts. And I had one of the chief rangers that I met through my internship of the Skill Bridge. When I was going to apply for jobs, and I wrote my resume using all the little star bolts they teach you, but I sent it back to her, said, hey, read this. And she was like, yeah, this is good, but you need to say this. Or, hey, Parks is really concerned about language that says something like this, this, and this, right? Like, like tying in historical, cultural, natural resources to, to education, you know what I mean?
That's so good.
Yeah, to the standards of learning, in the fourth grade education system. It's like, oh, well,
it's almost like dealing with AI, right? Like it's looking for keywords, and people are doing that as well.
And the funny thing is I'm, for working in a fairly technical field, I consider myself a bit of a Luddite. Like, I'm not using Chat GPT and all this other stuff. Like, I'm such an old newspaper kind of guy. You know what I mean? At the end of the day,
that's what we like to hear.
Unfortunately, you know what I mean? I really am.
Same.
But those technologies are out there. Use those, but more importantly, use the people that are doing it, or the people whose jobs types you're competing for. Like, have them look at your stuff. Yeah. Because that's how you're going to get the job. Like, they're going to be able to tell you, like, no, this needs to say this.
Yeah, this is their job.
And your talking point needs to be this. You know what I mean? And that helped me immensely when I was going in for interviews. Was just.
That's good advice.
It is
so good.
It's you got to leverage, make those connections early, leverage those connections, and don't be scared to throw your nasty resume out there, right? Like, they'll tell you that in TAPS, but like, your first resume is nasty. You know what I mean? Like,
well, so also like you said too, like when you were talking about applying, for the chief ranger position, like, I'm not really qualified, but I'm going to make them tell me no.
Yeah.
It's like, who knows? And you know, you were second in line.
And I was second. Matter of fact, the chief ranger they selected is working at the park I work with every day, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, okay, at least I know now I can see too. Like I'm fortunate enough to be able to look and be like, okay, that was the competition. I understand why they didn't select me, but at least I know that I was their second choice, even
Yeah.
coming in with minimum experience. Part of that is, again, good resume writing and then interviewing, right? Like
Yeah.
like we're doing right now, like
Yeah.
having communications, skills, being able to articulate complex answers over time, drive your points home. Those things matter. Work on your speaking, work on your public speaking, even if you're just talking to, like the old drill instructors used to make us go out and yell at trees and recite everything back,
Oh,
you know what I mean,
yeah.
to the trees. So just stand out there and just talk to trees for hours so that you could learn all these commands
You
verbatim.
didn't know that?
I did not.
It's one of the things for drill instructors do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go down to like Paris Island and you would just see a bunch of drill instructors like standing up, looking at like 3 feet from the tree and be like, the next movement I'm explaining and demonstrate is, and they're just talking to trees and yelling out these commands. And they're just getting ready to talk in front of platoons.
Just practicing. Okay.
Yeah, and so you have to learn everything verbatim, but they really want you just learning up speaking, having presence, stuff like that. And so
Yeah.
go out back, find a good tree, you know what I mean, and talk to it. And your neighbors may look at you kind of silly for a little bit, you know what I mean? But
They'll get used to it.
you'll get used to it. You know?
Yeah.
Eventually you'll grow on them and you'll work on that public speaking stuff. But yeah, there's no, again, I wish I had a true secret to success in a can. There's just not. It's just hard work.
It's just hard.
And
Yeah, I think it's just,
perseverance.
yeah, I think it's sort of,
Tenacity.
yeah, making people say no.
Yep. Tenacity. Just don't give up. Be at it. Get out there.
Yeah, because if you don't submit, the answer's already no.
Yeah. And again, be willing to make a paradigm shift. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you don't have to stay in that field that you've been in, and it's your comfort zone. But maybe it's not your quality. Like for me, it was not my quality. Like I love taking pictures, but I don't want that as my job anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't want to do audiovisual my work anymore. I want to do park rangering.
Yeah.
So make that paradigm shift. Find where you're, where's your happy place, Happy Gilmore. You know what I mean? Go
Yeah,
to it.
that's right.
Well, and you're still taking pictures
Yeah, wonderful
now as a
transition.
hobby.
Yeah, wonderful.
Mm.
Wonderful.
We are really
Yeah,
on
we're
it
firing,
today.
we're
Vic.
firing.
I mean, my God, we're good.
I'm trying to lay them up for you a little bit. It's okay.
But seriously, you told us about tell the listeners what you already told us at our fake meeting we had a couple months ago about your current photography project.
Yeah. So my for years, and I don't know how many, but many, a decade plus at least. I've been having this little idea in the back of my brain kicking around to do a photo project, and it's called My Life at 50. And this year I'll turn 50 in September 1st. I turn 50 years old. And in the photography world, the 50 millimeter lens is considered the normal aspect or the natural aspect of the eye. They say that gives you as close to the same perspective as the human eye gives when you're shooting something through a 50 millimeter lens. And so as I start my year of being 50 on September 1st, I want to do a photo project where I'm shooting photos every day and with a film camera, a Nikon FM2, which is my absolute favorite film camera of all time. It's my baby that I grew up with in the Marine Corps when I first started. I love her to death.
Love it.
Yeah, with a 50 millimeter lens, manual, everything manual. So no modern technology, no digital stuff, no fancies, just all manual camera work, manual focus, manual exposure, getting back to the craft that I started my career on, my Marine Corps career as a combat cameraman, and just going back to the basics and shooting all film and processing as much as I can myself, which probably be limited, but then putting everything together, coming back and curating everything after a year, and putting together a photo book, that kind of depicts that year of my life. That's just my life at 50, and it's just going to be
good.
pictures from my everyday life for my year at 50. And I don't expect it to be a New York Times bestseller or anything like that. Maybe it's a Christmas gift for family or something I can hand out. You know what I mean? But it's a personal thing. It's a personal
goal. Have you
goal.
shopped this idea around at all? It seems like something that
I haven't. Like I said, this is just.
I love it.
It's my
I think it's so good.
It's a really good idea.
And I've seen some. So and y'all probably seen this. Like I've seen people do like essentially time lapse where they'll take like the same like a picture of their face like every day. So that's going to be part of that project for me. Shoot it on film. We have to scan it all, digitally convert it, and then make it. But I'd like to see that that what it'll look like to a year, or maybe that'll just be a page layout where I'll do a page and I'll have a smattering of pictures from me. Like maybe it's 52 pictures once a week or something for the book purposes for space. But I want to do that same thing, like same location, same shot, something on a tripod, it's fixed. He's like same, everything's the same except for me. You know what I mean? Like, what's my face of the day, and just to do that little kind of time lapse weave together. But yeah, I'm so looking forward to it.
I'm really looking forward
You
to
know,
it too. I
to
can't wait to see
field
it.
trips with the kids, to camping, to life at the park, to what does a year look like in the mundane,
Yeah,
and just the average Joe person's life. You know what I mean? No fancy, no Hollywood.
We gotta have you back on,
Yeah.
man, when you get this thing done. I really want to see this. It's such
Yeah.
a great project.
All black and white, or are you going to do any color?
I'll do both. I mean, I'm an avid. I love black and white. But there's certain things that mountain being color. If I'm out on the water at the park for a great sunrise, it's color.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
color,
I want
right.
that snap of the sunrise. I want those morning colors, those soft, the golden hour glow.
Yeah.
If there's red foxes or something. Like I said, things that need that color. We'll get that pop. We'll shoot some color, but I'll definitely shoot a lot of black and white too. I love my black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you do your own processing?
I do some, limited processing. Obviously, like everything else, it's finding time and space to get in there and do wet line chemistry and stuff like that. Surprisingly enough, there's been a little bit of an upturn now that digital's become so popular. Processing has become popular again too. Like, it fell off for the longest time. Like,
Yeah.
it died. Like, the industry
What's
died.
old is new again.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
People are loving
All of a sudden,
record players and
Yes.
tube speakers.
All of a sudden, getting some D76,
Yeah.
black and white developers, not as hard as it used to be.
I'm twitching.
Yeah.
I love the smell of D76.
Not like
There's nothing like it.
Not like sticking your hands in some fixer bath and
Yeah.
freaking,
But the calmness of the dark room is something I always loved.
Yeah.
And nobody can bother you.
Yes.
It's just obviously it's dark.
Yes.
But it's quiet and you can't rush it. There's nothing you can do to speed up the process.
Nope.
Play on words there with
Yeah,
process.
yeah.
Was that
No,
good?
it's
Yeah,
good,
Was
it's
that
good.
done.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
really are on fire today.
I know, it's like amazing. But I found the dark room to be extremely calming and rewarding. It's
Yeah.
really magical to watch that image fade into existence. It's like a reverse fade. It comes into existence.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, because you had no idea until
Right.
that happens if anything you did when you shot that picture is worth a shit or not.
Yeah, no. There's nothing.
It's like, yeah, I did it.
It's definitely not the instant gratification of just looking down at your digital.
Yeah,
LCD.
right.
Like, we call, those y'all know, like chimping. We call it chimping. Like, oh, chimp. Ooh, like take a picture. Look. Take a picture. Look. We call it chimping in the industry. Like, you just keep looking at your stuff. Like, no, just shoot your
Yeah.
stuff. And I always like to say, I mean, you're getting me full circle again in some ways, right? One of my first gunnery sergeants here at Quantico, and I had two great gunnies, Gunny Burtons, so Thomas and Donna, the Burton twins, they're married, Burton couple.
That'd be weird.
Yeah, not twins, just they're twins to us, like, oh, the Burtons, the Gunny Burtons, the twins. But they used to say, shoot to print. And that was their way of saying, when you go out there, like, do everything in the camera so that when you get to the end, you have what you want, right? Like, frame it the right way, expose it the right way, give yourself, the right spacing, focus on the right things, shoot to print. Don't have to come back. And, like, you get me on my tangent. God, you guys getting me on tangent.
Yeah.
Because, I hate today, like, kids go out and shoot, like, and that's part of the training Marines, but they go out and they got these digital cameras, they got all these cards that hold thousands and thousands, like, not a roll of 12 exposure or 36 if you were lucky, you know what I mean? Like, no, they can go shoot thousands. Then they come back and, they can sort through those and kind of pick them. And then they're going to Photoshop and they're cropping and they're doing all that. No, shoot the print. Get out there with a camera.
That's the way I learned too.
Nope.
Edit behind the
Yes,
camera.
edit behind the camera through the lens. What are you seeing? What's it going to look like? Envision it in your mind's eye. Take your shot. And then the magic, when you get in the dark room and you film and you get your negatives come out of the canister and you can hold them up to the light. And it's like, yes, I think I got it. And then you get in there and you get to print it, and that first little piece of paper starts to material. Like I said, you're like, do I got it? Do I got it? You run out in the light and you're like, yes, I got what I wanted. It came out,
Yeah.
Conversely, there's also the, oh shit, I didn't roll my film the right way. I just burned it all, or
Yes.
or that photo's totally ruined. I overexposed, or I mean, we've all done that also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's something there, and I know we've taken up a ton of your time. I
That's
really
great.
appreciate you being
Having
here.
a blast.
But there is that sense of like we don't appreciate almost as a culture anymore anticipation.
Mm-hmm.
Like that just waiting for that moment for it to, for the process to do what the process does, and then to see results, and like having felt like you've earned it because you did all of the things you were supposed to do that led up to it. Vice, just this instant gratification stuff, and like, oh, well, I'll just take it again, and like, oh, just do this thing and just do that thing. Like,
I also feel very judgy about people who don't understand the amount of pressure and stress that goes along with shooting an event and having no idea
what
if
happened.
you got anything that's worth a damn,
Yeah.
or if you ruined the whole roll, or how it's going to be. Like, you kids don't know what that feels like.
But that's a shame. Like,
I
there's
know, it's-
wisdom. There's
exactly.
wisdom, I think, that comes from the anticipation.
There is wisdom, and there's wisdom
and preparation and
that you
anxiety
gain in going through that, and knowing like, okay, you know what, I did the best I could. I've got my backup shots. I took the picture of the guy standing at the podium before the event started, so at least I'll have something. But kind of prepares you for the later screw ups, because life is filled with screw ups.
My son, we were talking, and now I'm going down.
That's good. I like these tangents.
But
they're what makes it fun.
My son, he just loves nature. He loves wildlife. I mean, but he also likes the idea of hunting. But he doesn't want to kill anything. And I'm like, well, dude, we'll get you a camera. Like, quite literally, it's all of the steps. And you don't have to taxidermy the thing to bring it home.
That's what my dad used to do with his hunting buddies. He would go hunting every year with buddies and never fired his rifle, but he came back with beautiful photos. He also did that as a scuba diver. Some of his he's a Navy diver, that they'd take their spear guns and go spear fishing, and my dad would come back with photographs.
Yeah, and that's how I tell like if you
Nikon
really want to do this
underwater.
Yeah, I will. Like, we'll get you. We'll go old school, man. Like,
that's amazing. You should do that.
You'll sit in a hide and you'll wait. And wait.
Yeah.
And wait, and then you'll get your shot.
It's so funny.
Yeah. That's a great idea.
So there's like 3 things I got to come back to in this whole conversation. Just number 1, you talked about like we've lost the art of anticipation, and it brings me like the favorite cult, Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
Dr. Frankenfurter, like Tim Curry, like it's the
patient.
Right? Like that's my favorite. Like I love that thing. It's like it is like I love that part. Like so you're right. Like people have just instant gratification and waiting for the reward is something that's been lost, and I'm looking forward to kind of having that, doing that for myself again, like waiting for the rewards. And then
really exciting project.
Yes. About the the nature and the hunting. So I started off when I was a teenager. I used to hunt. I lived in Florida. I used to hunt a small game. We'd hunt the deer and stuff, but a lot of rabbits and things. And one day I was probably around 15 or 16 years old, and there was a rabbit laying up, tied up underneath the boughs of this tree. It was really low to the ground. The branches were hanging low, but I could see him. And I took my shot, and I was a little short, and the arrow skipped on the ground. It hit the rabbit in the back leg, and it broke his leg, and he started screaming. And if you've never heard a rabbit scream,
it's a rough one.
It is the most excruciating. It sounds like a child, like a human child. And this thing's trying to run away and flopping in its leg and it's screaming. And of course we had to track it down and kill it. And we dressed out. Like I said, back then dress it out and eat it and stuff like that. Like all good, not wasting. But that was the last day I hunted. We talk about PTSD. I had PTSD way before the Marine Corps. That rabbit screaming.
Yeah.
I gave away all my bow. Like I was a bow hunter. I didn't ever rifle hunt. I was not that. Me personally, I didn't find that fair. So I did a lot of bow hunting. But I gave away all my bows, other friends were hunting, and but then I found photography, like you said, and I picked up a camera, and now I can capture all those things, right? I can still hunt, I can still stalk them. And there's a beaver out at Whitewater State Park that lives out there, and this is the largest effing beaver I've ever seen in my entire life. And one day we were walking, and we just snuck up on a little creek, and we came up to this little creek, and the beaver had dug out like a little hole in the side of the bank, and he was laying up in there like a lazy boy. I mean, he's just up in there. And we walked up on him, and they're shy. They don't like to be around people to start with. And we walk up.
I don't blame them.
No, and this beaver, I swear to God, this beaver just like he's in his thing, and he's like, kind of like looks up at us real slowly, like "fuck you guys," you know what I mean? Like, why are you bothering me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, now I got to get up, and he like lumbers up off his little lazy boy spot, you know what I mean? And he gets in the water, and he swims in a little culvert where his lodge is at or whatever. But it was just like this. and I haven't been able to get him again. Like ever since
Yeah.
that time I saw him, I've gone back numerous times trying to find him or catch him, and I haven't been able to get a picture of that beaver. But I'm gonna get him yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, he just gave us
That's
the double birds. He like
hilarious.
looked at us, just like 2 fingers
What
up,
the
and you know what I mean?
fuck?
Like, dude, really? Like I gotta move? You know what I mean? Like, he's just a big fat thing, you know. And he just got in the water and just like, yeah. It was, so
That's
anyway, there is a
hilarious.
lot of excitement, like I said, in just the hunt of a good photo, you know. So if you
Yeah.
get your son, you know, involved in that, it is very rewarding. And then you can put it on the wall. I've got
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I've got pictures of, you know, the whales from the Okinawa. We went on whale tour. I got, you know, the whale, you know, whale
yeah.
tails out of the water and
Awesome.
all kinds of stuff, bullfights, you know, and
Yeah.
all kinds of cool stuff you can put up on your own walls. And it's like,
Yeah.
and you don't have to kill anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so cool.
The only thing I like killing is people. You know what I mean? Like that's all the Marines. Kill the people. Animals, we're gonna protect them.
That's right.
The people,
The lease turns? No, man, you don't drive it there.
That's right.
But when we get to the range, we're blowing
That's right.
everything
Yeah,
up.
that's right.
Yeah.
Love it.
Well, John, this has been so great. This is a lot of fun.
I
I
gotta ask the
okay, go for it. Yeah.
before you
Uh-oh.
wrap it
The
up.
staple, yeah.
Uh-oh.
What was your best day in the Marine Corps?
Oh man, you guys, you know, I listen to the podcast and I've heard you say that's like the staple question.
It's not every
Uh,
time, Doc.
Yeah. The generic answer would be like, well, today's the best day in the Marine Corps. You know,
Yeah,
like I'm
yeah,
still
yeah.
in it. You know, kind of the, you know, like
Every meal's a banquet, right?
Every meal's a feast. Every day's a holiday. Every payday's a fortune. You know, and you got all those things. It's like, oh, is it the day you graduate? Is it the day you retire? It was a great day. I mean, my best day in the Marine Corps. And you'd think I'd be more prepared because I did listen.
We did do the prep meeting too.
Yeah, you
that
did
was
do that.
fake.
Yeah, and I did listen, and I was like, oh, what am I going to talk about? And here I am.
It's not an easy one.
It's not, because there's so many good days in the Marine Corps. For all the shitty ones, there's so many
Yeah.
good ones also.
Name a best day. It doesn't have to be
Yeah.
the very best day. A great day in the Marine Corps.
Yeah, I would think that the day, I'm gonna go with the day we graduated my last platoon as a drill instructor at Paris Island.
Oh, nice.
That's a good
That
one.
is a good one.
You know, my platoon, just before we graduated, we won the honor platoon. You know, we won fighter drill, but to finish that tour, you know, and those tours down there at Paris Island as a drill instructor, there's, I mean, I think any big bill recruiters probably like looking like, you guys got it so easy, but finishing a tour down there, especially back then, I was down there 2001, 2004. So I was down there when the Twin Towers were hit, when we first started going, you know what I mean? And so like the pressure was crazy and ramping everybody through, and just having a successful tour as a drill instructor after grinding so hard and not getting voided, and you know what I mean? Because we all do dumb stuff, myself included. But to be able to finish that last platoon and walk away with a successful tour and have that drill instructor ribbon, you know, presented by the first sergeant at the company, you know, meeting afterwards, that was a really good day.
Yeah.
That was like, I made it, you know what I mean? But more importantly, I made Marines. You know what I mean? I made Marines that I knew in that
awesome.
moment,
I love that.
I knew in that moment were going down range.
Yeah.
Right
going to
now,
combat,
because I was, you know, first Crucible. I was on my very first Crucible event as a drill instructor, day one, when the Twin Towers were hit, and we paused and brought everybody in. I remember it to this day, and I remember the reality of what those recruits, like, you know, you're going to war. Like, we've been telling you, and even for us drill instructors, like, oh, you're going to go to war. Like, it wasn't quite a reality for us, you know what I mean? Even though, you know, I'd come out the tail end of the Gulf War, but yeah, it's still like, it'd been a while, right? It'd been almost a decade. So it's like, yeah, that was reality. And so knowing that I'd spent the last, you know, 3 years training Marines to go fight and trying to make the best basically trained Marine, you know, thoroughly indoctrinated in the love of Corps and country to go down range, that was a very rewarding day to finish that tour and walk away, knowing that, and from a sense of pride, I felt like I'd done a good job.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
That's a good way to end up.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much for coming in. Congratulations on getting being the recipient of the Super Bowl tickets. And this has been really great, and we'll definitely want to get you back on once we get that photo journal done.
Yeah, well, you gotta want to wait. Like I said, I got to go through a whole year at least. So
hey, well, hopefully we'll still be
it's,
here. So
it's the anticipation.
It is.
Yay, nice!
Mm.
It all
It is.
comes full circle.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Marines, history enthusiasts, and fitness fans, 2025 is your year to celebrate 250 years of Marine Corps excellence with a one-of-a-kind virtual run series. Join us for 4 themed virtual events that commemorate key operations and battles where Marines showcased courage, endurance, and commitment. Upcoming, we have the Fort Fisher Victory Run 10K on April 5th. followed by the Guadalcanal Offensive Run 10K on June 21st. August 23rd, we have the Battle of Way Run 6.8 miles. And finally, the Fallujah Freedom Run 5K on October 11th. Register for the full series and receive collectible pins for each race designed to honor the Marines' storied history. Plus, enjoy a $15 total discount when you sign up for all of them. Sign up today by texting 250 years to 41444. That's 250 years to 41444. Don't miss this chance to celebrate Marine Corps history, honor their legacy, and achieve your fitness goals, all from wherever you are. Scuttlebutt is a production of the Marine Corps Association. You have heard the voices or contributions from Major Vic Rubel, USMC retired, Nancy Lichman, William Truding, and our guest. Ty Frazier is the editor, sound engineer, and technical producer. The Marine Corps Association is not an agency of the U.S. government. The opinions expressed in this episode are the personal views of the participants and do not reflect the official position of the United States Marine Corps, the Department of Defense, or the Marine Corps Association.